So today's video is going to tell you about how to run a banner ad. This is particularly for Google Display Network, but also can work for Facebook ads too. That or any other place that you would run a quote-unquote banner ad or image ad, anywhere online where you can actually buy ad space. So that ad actually works for you and can actually generate a profit, and we're talking about real profit, 8 to 1 return, 10 to 1 return in terms of the revenue you make divided by the ad spend. Most businesses need to actually make sense of the campaign and have it be the run itself and to scale the campaign, which for the most part, 90% of the value in PPC is working hard to find a model that works and is profitable like that, and then be able to scale that campaign afterwards. So anyway, we're going to go through kind of what I've learned, how to make banner ads. I've actually written a book about display advertising. You can find that on our site at guaranteeppc.com if you're interested in that. But I came up with a general formula that I use on all the banner ad campaigns, display ad campaigns if you want to call it that I use, and that you can basically use for setting up any display advertising that you would like and creating an ad for that. Also, of course, going along with that goes with the targeting, because the ad by itself without the proper targeting won't work. With the proper targeting and the right ad, you're still not going to get things to work. But it's that perfect combination there that gets everything to work, of course. And the final element being where you take the user to, and if you use a landing page or not. And I'm going to go through more so what the the requirements are with that, and what you should do, kind of the high level points, without going into too super detail on any one point. Give you the broad overview of the system I use to actually get those kind of results in the campaigns I run every time I run them, or virtually every time that I run them now, because I've set hundreds of them up now to this date in the last 15 years. So anyway, as usual on my videos here, I have a list of things that that need to know information about how to do a particular strategy, PPC money-making strategy, and in this case it talks about, of course, banner ads. So anyway, the first thing on my list that I want to mention to you here is, and before I tell you about the actual strategy, most people that are making a banner ad for a campaign, whether you're doing remarketing, which, if you don't know what that is yet, it's a banner ad that shows up for people after they left your site, and only if they left your site, or you could clarify that as well as somebody who already subscribed to your business in some way or shape or form, or as a current customer or client, and you have the ad to show up for them, as opposed to anybody that has not had a relationship with your brand yet, or what I call the first click. I've coined that term. Basically anything else besides remarketing, which would be then the inverse of remarketing, or people that are going to drive people that are unfamiliar with your brand to get the new traffic to your site and get new customers, clients, patients, prospects or whatever to your site. But the issue that you kind of should get out of your head, if you will, if you've not had some success with banner ads before, and that I see most of the people, making a mistake on, and will have to before you move on to the stuff that kind of already that will for sure work for you here, or one of the ways that will for sure work for you. There's not only one way to do this, but the way that I know how, that they don't have any actual plan or system behind what they're doing. They think, oh, if I have a banner ad that says what I do and I get it in front of somebody that could potentially buy, everything else, just work, everything will be taken care of for me. In certain circumstances, that could potentially work if you have game-changing technology, or I gave an example on prior videos, like let's say you're a storm chaser and a hurricane just hit your town, you're the only one of 2 or 3 companies that do roofing, and you basically just got to say what you do, and if you do that, the person either has the demand for it or not, and then they respond or not, and that's it. For everybody else, you have to get a little bit more craftier than that. And in getting crafty, there actually is a system to making these ads work. It's not just a random, and for all practical purposes, I worked in hundreds of niche or industry spaces already now, and we're not starting completely from scratch each and every single time that we're going to create a new banner ad campaign or display advertising campaign. We're pulling from the same system to make it much easier that we use on all prior campaigns that can be followed pretty much every time. And I'm giving it to you so you could follow here just to make it simple for yourself in order to be able to do. So don't go in this thinking that, if you hire somebody to design a banner ad, which, by the way, if the person that designs the ad writes the text, probably not the best idea either. Not to say copywriters aren't designers, but the copywriter, a person who knows how to get response out of ads, probably can't design. So and that's also why PPC agencies exist, just as a side topic. If you hire a consultant, they don't have all the micro tasks it takes to set up a PPC campaign funnel that works. And so you need a lot of times a copywriter, a designer, and a programmer that can set up conversion tracking, and potentially programmer that can set up an animated ad for you in some cases, and then program a landing page for you, and a designer that can design a landing page. There's a medley of stuff that needs to happen right, of course, in competitive spaces in order to get PPC campaigns profitable in the 8-to-1, 10-to-1 range that you're ultimately looking for. But you need to, to keep it simple, you can just follow my system here and avoid all the years of headache that I went through to learn all this stuff, reading copywriting books and so on and so forth to educate myself, and then through trial and error working on a lot of different clients' campaigns. So with that said, we'll get into the system itself. So number 2 on my list here, to have an actual banner ad campaign work for yourself, where you're building it completely from scratch, having to come up with an ad, learning how to target people that potentially where it can be profitable, and then deciding where to send users to, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video here. It should have 2 elements virtually every time. For me, it's got to be required to have these 2 things. Now, you can look at it in a different way, but for the most part, if you do it a different way, you're still going to be incorporating these 2 things at the very least, because I know it's hard enough to get a return out of these ads that if you don't have these 2 things, you could basically kiss your butt goodbye as to whether or not this is actually going to work for you. And if you couldn't make it work before, then you know kind of what you need to do, I guess. So the first thing is, so overall, it's the 2 things are why me and why now, is in the actual hypothetical questions that you should ask yourself. Or really, they're questions for the prospect that's going to see your ad. That user, when they see your ad, should have to say, why me? Why is it that I'm looking at the ad and there's a saying, what is in it for me? When it comes to sales and marketing, people want to know what's in it for me in order to get them to respond. And so what is it in it for them? Well, the first thing you have to do to get their attention is to explain, hey, I know something about you potentially here. There's some products or services that work for everybody and can be done a little bit differently. That you have, and this gets a little bit creepy for some people, but for the most part, if you target something that only some sub-segment of the market, if you will, that really can use your product or service well, then you have to identify some information about that user beforehand to know what they're in the market for, so that you can show up for that person and be relevant. And that's advertising that's relevant, for the most part, isn't annoying. So I can tell you, I am for super targeted advertising because it actually helps people versus the stuff that just says buy, 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 beats people over the head. That's the stuff that really pisses people off. But you know, if a person has made a search in the recent past or been on one of your competitors' websites and you sell tennis supplies and equipment, well, that's the particular time that you can have a tennis racket ad show up for the prospects. You got to, in other words, know they're in market for what you sell. In market being they potentially have shown they were going to buy, and they're still within the general window of time that somebody would evaluate the purchase, and that either they changed their mind and did not decide to buy it, or they bought it from somebody else already. So, and then when they see the ad, they say, when they're going to say, why me? Well, I was going to buy a tennis racket anyway, and you're going to give me some information about tennis rackets here, so I'm going to pay attention to it at the very least. Then once you've got the user's attention, it's the why now. Meaning, why are you, and I guess I did touch on this completely before I back up here. I'll back up here a little bit. So the person when it should say, why are you showing this exactly to me versus anybody else in the world? Why is it to me? And they answer that question that I was going to buy a tennis racket, so therefore now I know it's why it's for me. So therefore I can invest my time and energy evaluating this ad at this point. Once you got through that hoop with the user, you go to why now, meaning why are you showing me this particular ad to me right now at this moment, meaning. So I see this tennis racket ad. Yes, I'm ultimately in market for it, but you've now got my attention. Why should I actually click on that ad? You just telling me to buy some branded tennis racket ad? Well, I was on CNN.com reading about the new lockdown that happened recently and but the rules regarding that, and now you're having an ad that shows up for me on the sidebar of the website, and there better be a damn good reason as to why I should stop what I'm doing and click on that ad. It's not like a Google search ad where the barrier to actually get someone to click is way lower. And click-through rate is directly correlated with cost per click, and cost per click is correlated with ROI. And of course, so you have to get so much response in order to have a chance at ROI at the range where you need to be profitable to have the ads self-fund themselves. So within that, I have 3 basic buckets that you have to choose from here, whether you're running remarketing or first-click advertising, as I talked about here before. So you're the trust. If you know that somebody's in the market for a tennis racket, you don't know quite. Of course, you can narrow that down if you've got information they've been on your site already about the type of quality and price range of the racket that you have. And you can mention, if you know they're got in the market for a high-end racket, that we sell the best high-end rackets. We have a house brand high-end racket here that has got a lot of reviews by other companies. And to be more specific there, what you want to have is an ad that has a review, a testimonial, or a case study, if you're in B2B. And within that, you should take one step further and say we have 5-star reviews on Amazon, even though you're not sending them to Amazon, proving there's social proof there that this racket's actually the best one in the market. And you can click on this ad and review why it got 5 stars, or got the testimonial, or got the review, or so on and so forth. If it was just like Trustpilot 5 stars or Yelp 5 stars, you could actually not send people onto a specialized landing page. You could just send them directly onto a product page or a service page. That's up to you. I want to say for extra credit, you should send them to a landing page there. So that's trust. The differentiator is, what is this tennis racket going to actually do that's different than all the other tennis rackets in the price range that I'm looking for here? So is there a particular technology? Is there a certain weave? Is it a certain grip? Certain weight? That's good, lightweight? Whatever it is. What do you think is different than all the rest of the tennis rackets? And that should be mentioned on the ad to get the user's attention even further here. And then ideally, you're going to then in that situation, and this goes for a product or service, or you're a B2B or not B2B, it's all the same stuff. You send people on, if you say that this racket's the lightest weight racket that's on the market right now, using a new patented alloy that you should send, you have that on your ad to get, they know it's a tennis racket, I'm in the market for a tennis racket, There's a new alloy out there that's changing the game. We sell those, and if you want to know and to learn more about the alloy, instead of just saying buy now, you send them to a page on your site, a blog post, it could be all it is, talking about that product in detail and how that alloy works. And then if they get to the bottom of the post, then you can link to the product page. That I recommend. You could, of course, send them to the product page directly again in that case, but it's not going to work nearly as good, at least for the differentiator category of how to actually have your second part or your why now part of the ad. The last thing is the sweetener. The sweetener can be a discount, that you're offering. This month only, we're going to give you up 10% off your order, anything in the store. So if you're, considering making a purchase of a tennis racket, you should go to our store because we're offering 10% off this month. We're also offering, you buy a tennis racket, buy 2 tennis rackets, get 1 free. Or, buy 1 tennis racket, we'll throw in a pair of, free shoes with your order automatically. Or so on and so forth. So I call that a sweetener. So basically, and that always goes with time specificity. So you want an excuse of why you're offering the sweetener. Easter sale, so people know it's only going to be for a limited time, which builds in urgency. That we're going to give you this if you make your order. So therefore, don't procrastinate, because the procrastination is the killer. It gets people to click through and consider the purchase. If they're in the stage where they don't need convincing and they don't need your trust anymore, they just need an excuse to not procrastinate, that will get them. But so anyway, overall, so that one has a time limiter always with it if you want that to really work, by far the best. If somebody clicks, so people are, depending on what stage of the buying process they are in or sales cycle they're in, and just in general, like where that person's mind is, the trust ad might get them, the differentiator might get them, the sweetener may get them. And by the way, you can try several things out and just see which one is going to be the most provocative, if you will, for the user in that particular case. But what I'll do is I'll set up several differentiator ads, like for a product or a service, to explain why this service is different than the other crappy services out there in that particular market or category. And that if they click on one ad, they're going to see another ad, and then once they click on that ad, they're going to click on another, and or if they click on this ad, they're later on going to see an ad for the trust, because once they're convinced that your product is the right category of what they want in terms of the material and the build, then I have to learn to trust you. And then once they've clicked on that ad, then they need a reason to buy now instead of procrastinating, and it's part of the sales system. And so you will have, instead of just one ad, in other words, you'll have 5, 6, 7, 8, upwards of 10 ads that are rotating out. Once user clicks on one of those ads, they don't see that ad again necessarily, but then they see another ad. And after they've clicked, each time that they click an ad, they're more and more likely to buy. And if you're getting a high click-through rate, because this is really helpful information for the user, you can potentially pay about 10 cents per click. So if a user has to click on 8 of these ads before they purchase, and it ultimately only costs you 80 cents overall, that's still a good number. So people look at it as, a lot of times it's not just going to be one ad that gets them. The higher the cost of the product or service, the more it's going to take to sell them. Of course, it also depends on their market size and competition and all that. But ultimately, you should identify. I recommend with the Why Me, create a custom audience on Google Display Network and say anybody that's been on my competitor's site in the last few, 30 days or so, which you can easily do. Check my other video about that if you wanted to see that. And then you're just a custom intent audience with your competitors' links on there for their domains, indicating you want an audience for each person that goes to your competition site. Or you can definitely do people in a custom intent audience which has buying keywords for the particular product or service that you're trying to sell, and then so that when they search that within 30 days, they can see your ad here that's going to offer them whatever they were in market for there, and they're in market for because you're using Google's data to your advantage, and then you're showing them these ads and trying to and won't know where exactly in the buying process they are. So you'll rotate out these different messages until you hit something that strikes a chord. And then if they're not all the way sold, they're not all the way down to the stage where they just need an excuse to finally, they know they were going to buy, just get out their wallet right then and there. You have these other ads, and if they are towards the end of the process and they don't need convincing, like you just give them the sweetener. If you wanted to buy a car and you wanted to do a car dealership, you wouldn't care about all the features, you just want to buy. But if you were kind of on the fence, the sweetener offering somebody, throw in extra, a free upgrade. If you bought it today, that's going to get your purchase today. So you kind of get the method of my madness here. Not one ad will work for everybody, so therefore you shouldn't just assume that create several ads for the people that you have identified that are in market. Sales cycle is 30 days on average. They're within that 30-day cycle. You're going to hit them with several messages until they buy. And because you've done such a good job and you've sent people onto a custom landing page to tell them about why the product should be bought, why your company is the one to buy from, as to why you have such good reviews, so on and so forth, and why they should buy because you're offering a special offer here, which you could also technically send people to a custom landing page, but for the most part, use a custom landing page for the differentiators. Cycle those out, you'll get a great result because nobody else is really doing this in your space, and really helps the buyer. And if you ask people when they see your ads, if you actually monitor this, even though they are getting bombarded a little bit with their ads, they're not upset because you're helping them. This is the way marketing is supposed to be done, particularly online marketing. And to top it off, if somebody clicks on one of these ads, they're in market, then with the remarketing, then like I was saying before, you show them these other ads until they're ready to purchase. And again, if they see one, click on it, then you have only a few other things they need to see potentially before they're ready to purchase. So they just need to, if they don't buy right away, it's because they need to do research. Well, just give them the rest of the information they need yourself as a part of your ads. And it's easy to do that because once you have all the ads set up, they'll just automatically run in a cycle for every single person who at least clicks one of your ads. So anyway, that's the general process of how to make a banner ad actually work for you every single time. In terms of why them, you're going to be buying a tennis racket, you might as well buy it from us. And our tennis rackets are the best because of A, B, and C. You should trust the brand of tennis rackets we have because of A, B, and C, actually, they got to trust the product. If you sell a product, and the company, if you're just a service, you just have a service, they got to trust your company. And then, of course, they have to have a reason not to procrastinate, usually a good bit of time. And also, you're open to people stealing your customer at the last moment without the sweetener because they may intend to buy, they're waiting to get paid, and then right when they get paid, somebody else talks to them right about that time, like right after, and then they were intending to buy from you and somebody sniped them at the last second. That's why you use the sweetener ad too. So anyway, that goes over how to run a banner ad for yourself. You can go ahead and try that out. You can't go wrong by educating the buyer through your banner ads, which is what banner ads technically can allow you for. So get your money's worth out of the ads. Anyway, and if you have any questions about running banner ads for your business on Facebook or LinkedIn or Google Display Network to get super high click-through rate in the 1% range on Google Display Network or a 3% range on Facebook potentially and LinkedIn, so on and so forth, or any other ad network, you can run Reddit ads, so on and so forth. I have experience with that kind of stuff. Leave a comment below and I will try to help you as best as I can. Besides that, I have a lot of other videos on this channel. I come out with a new PPC money-making strategy like this every single day, so you should check those videos out. You can subscribe to get the updated new PPC strategies that I come out with on a regular basis. You can learn how to set up PPC campaigns the way that I have in the last 15 years doing it for hundreds of different clients today. And you can go to guaranteeppc.com, go to our blog for step-by-step money-making PPC strategies itself if you'd like a little bit more detailed help on how to set up campaigns like this completely from scratch yourself.